Have you heard about the vegan publisher? Yep, the vegan publisher. Mitali specializes in working with vegan authors who want to get their books published. And there's one thing both Mitali and I agree upon, and it's that most authors don't know what they're doing when it comes to marketing. In this episode, I'm going to address 3 things that you can do to increase book sales. So stick around.
Welcome to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show, where your host, Kathleen Gage, shines the spotlight on vegan and plant-based businesses and entrepreneurs from all walks of life committed to cruelty-free eating, healthy lifestyles, animal compassion, and the environment. Enjoy the show.
As an author for nearly 20 years, one thing I know is that as an author, it's my responsibility to make sure that I market the book. And yet most authors don't realize that there's a lot more to getting a book published than just publishing the book and writing the book. You have to figure out ways to get the book in front of readers and entice them enough to want to read your book and want to buy your book. So in today's episode of Vegan Visibility, I'm going to focus on 3 ways that authors can increase sales. The first way is that you have to start marketing before the book is published. It's amazing how many authors say, I'll go ahead and start the marketing once the book is published. No. What you want to do is you want to start thinking of the marketing as soon as you think of the idea to write the book. And marketing involves anything that has to do with visibility in front of your potential readers. So you want to look at where do they hang out in social media? What kind of blogs do they read? What podcast shows do they listen to? What types of books do they even read? Because that's important. You might have a book that you think is going to sell like hotcakes and it doesn't move at all. So you really need to do your research before you ever get the book published. And research can be done, obviously, with Google. You can research people's reading habits. You can go to social media and notice what posts people are making. And my focus is with nonfiction authors. I don't work with fiction authors. I work with nonfiction authors who write business books, spiritual books, books about veganism, nutritional books. And it's all about figuring out what keeps your reader awake at night. And then based on that, you want to be visible in the locations where they're looking for information. So that is one way to really market your book. Now, another way is to get on podcast shows, and not just any podcast shows, but podcast shows that your ideal reader is listening to. Best way to do that is go to any of the podcast platforms. I prefer Apple Podcast, and you actually go to podcasts and store. And then you put in the search bar, you put the main theme or topic that your book is about, and you look for podcast shows to do with that theme or that focus. For example, let's say that you deal with fertility issues and you help women to eat healthy so that they can be more fertile. There are shows to do with pregnancy. There's shows to do with fertility. There's shows to do with health and fitness. Key in all of those and then read the description of the show. And if it looks like a match, listen to some of the episodes. Then what you want to do is you want to have what's called a speaker one sheet or a media one sheet, which basically says a little bit about you. It has a short bio, topics that you speak on, maybe some links to your website, your blog, your social media handles so that a podcast host can check you out. Do not send a boatload of information to a podcast host right out the gate. Send them a message saying, I listened to your show. I really enjoyed episode 25 when you talked about women's fertility and what they eat. Okay, so you've identified a show that lets the host know that you really did listen to it. And don't just say that you listened to the show. Point out something specific about that episode that really resonated with what your message is. And then say, I actually have a book coming out in August, whatever month it may be coming out. And then say, I have some information that I really feel would be beneficial to your listeners or your viewers. Start with that and then say, may I send you some information? Then from there, you can send information, but don't send a boatload of information because we as hosts are very, very busy and we don't have time to filter through all the information you send. In my case, I have 2 podcast shows. Obviously, this one, Vegan Visibility. And if you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe to this show. And I also have Plant-Based Eating for Health. In the description of both shows, it's very clear that I only interview people who are 100% void of animal and dairy in their food consumption. And it's amazing how many people will approach me that have not even read the description. And I say, are you vegan? And they're like, well, almost. I eat a little bit of cheese. Well, that's not vegan. And so for me, I'm very clear on the type of people I want on my show, as are other hosts. So be sure that you read the description, be sure you listen to episodes, and start right now to book shows that will align with your launch date. I have a colleague who has a book coming out very shortly, and I recommended to her that she book as many shows as possible that align with her launch date. And I told her to ask the host if they can have the episode go live during your launch, explain what you're doing. And many hosts, if they feel like you have respected their time, if they feel like you've really researched their show, if you're a good fit for their show, many hosts will go ahead and release an episode around the time of your book launch. So that's the next thing that you want to do. You want to make sure that you get on podcast shows. Another thing to do to market your book is to actually have people help you market the book. You might find collaborative partners who would be willing to share the news about your book. But that all takes time and effort. So the whole point of this episode is that you want to start as soon as possible to market your books. Because in the vegan space, there's a lot of opportunity for visibility. There's a lot of opportunity for marketing. There are a lot of shows. And actually, I have a directory that is specific to people in the vegan space, a directory of podcast shows. And if you go to my website, veganvisibility.com, that's veganvisibility.com, go to the resources tab and you'll see my directory listed on the resources tab. And I've got some other resources there that will help you to really amplify your visibility. But the main thing is that you want to start as soon as possible. You don't want to wait until the book is published. And if you're looking to publish a book, reach out to Mitali, the vegan publisher. And if you need an introduction, I would be happy to make an introduction. This is Kathleen Gage with Vegan Visibility, encouraging you, get out there, promote your books, do what you're here to do, leave your legacy. Have a great day.
You've been listening to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show. Be sure to subscribe to get notified when the next episode is live. And we always appreciate reviews. Join us next time for more inspiration, education, and motivation to build your business one cruelty-free and healthy person at a time.